The letter showed up the same week we buried my father. I remember standing on the porch of the old ranch house, dust still clinging to my boots, reading words that felt colder than the wind rolling off the hills. Notice of violation. That's what it said. According to some HOA I'd never heard of, the land I had just inherited was suddenly subject to their authority. Fences too high. Structures not approved. Livestock exceeding limits. I laughed at first, because the idea was absurd. This ranch had existed longer than the town itself. My grandfather grazed cattle here before there was even a paved road. But the laughter didn't last long, because the letter didn't stop there. It ended with a threat. Comply, or face legal action. I was exhausted grieving, and in no mood for games. My father worked this land until his hands shook too badly to hold a hammer. He used to say the ranch wasn't just property, it was proof that our family kept its word to the dirt. You take care of it, it takes care of you. Now, days after he was gone, strangers were telling me I needed permission to live the way my family always had. I drove into town to figure out who these people were. The HOA office sat in a new glass building, all clean lines and fake smiles. A woman behind the desk greeted me like I was a problem she'd already solved in her head. She spoke in rehearsed sentences, explaining that a luxury development had gone up near the eastern edge of my land years ago. Gated homes, manicured lawns, mountain views. Somewhere along the way, they decided the ranch affected their community standards. She said the word standards like it meant something sacred. According to her, the HOA now had authority over surrounding parcels to preserve aesthetic value. I asked her to show me the document that gave them that power. She slid over a photocopy, heavy with highlights and sticky notes. It mentioned easements, view corridors, and cooperative compliance. It did not say what she claimed it said. I went home and read my father's files late into the night. Deeds, surveys, tax records, all stacked neatly in a cabinet he built himself. The ranch boundaries were clear. The HOA development stopped half a mile short of our fence line. There was no shared road, no shared utilities, no signed agreement of any kind. What they were doing wasn't authority. It was intimidation. Still, the letters kept coming. Fines began appearing on paper, growing larger each time, as if writing bigger numbers might make them real. They demanded I tear down a barn my grandfather built because it blocked a premium sightline for a house that didn't even exist yet. The first knock on the door came on a Sunday morning. 2 board members stood there in pressed shirts and forced politeness. They spoke slowly, like I was difficult, not grieving. They said things like mutual benefit and avoiding escalation. I told them this land was private property and always had been. One of them smiled and said, "We'll see what the court says." That sentence stayed with me. It wasn't a warning. It was a promise. I hired a lawyer using money I hadn't planned on spending. He listened quietly, flipping through my documents, then leaned back and smiled. Not a happy smile, but a confident one. He told me the HOA had no jurisdiction, no standing, and no legal leg to stand on. What they did have, he said, was money and arrogance. Enough to drag things out and hope I'd fold. That's when something in me hardened. My father used to say some people mistake silence for weakness. I wasn't going to be silent. When the lawsuit came, it was aggressive and full of dramatic language about diminished property values and community harm. They painted my ranch like an eyesore, a threat to their lifestyle. Reading it made my hands shake, not with fear but anger. This land fed families. It paid taxes. It stood on its own long before their gates and fountains. We filed our response, factual and calm. Then we waited. The depositions were where the truth started slipping out. Board members contradicted each other. One admitted they never actually reviewed my deed. Another acknowledged they assumed compliance because everyone else does. Emails surfaced showing internal discussions about pressuring me into selling. They didn't want control. They wanted the land. The views. The expansion. My lawyer called it a fishing expedition with teeth. Court day came quietly. No drama, no crowd, just facts laid bare in a room that didn't care about status. The judge listened. Asked questions. Read documents. When the ruling came, it was firm and unmistakable. The HOA had overreached. Badly. Their claims were dismissed. Their authority denied. Then came the part one didn't expect. The judge sanctioned them for filing a frivolous lawsuit and attempting to coerce a property owner without legal basis. They were ordered to pay my legal fees. I sat there stunned. It wasn't victory that hit me. It was relief. A weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying finally lifted. Outside the courthouse, The board members avoided my eyes. The confidence they'd worn like armor was gone. I drove back to the ranch as the sun dipped low, turning the fields gold. I parked by the old barn they wanted gone and rested my hand on its weathered wood. That night, I walked the fence line my father taught me to check as a kid. I thought about how easy it would have been to give in, to sell, to walk away. But land remembers. It remembers who stood for it and who tried to take without earning. The HOA lost more than a case. They lost the illusion that money and paperwork can replace truth. I didn't inherit a mega ranch just to own it. I inherited a responsibility. And for the first time since my father passed, I felt like I'd honored it.